Hey folks, Nathan B. Butler here. This is our second content overview video for the board game Final Girl from Ryder Games. Now, there's a few things to understand about this video and what it is going to cover to help it sort of make sense and to give you a sense of what was in the previous video. Back in 2020, Ryder Games did the first Kickstarter for Final Girl. That material from that first Kickstarter is generally now referred to as Series 1. They then, in 2022, from January 11 to February 3rd, 2022 to be exact, did a second Kickstarter for Final Girl, primarily to provide a new set of feature films and whatnot called Series 2. However, as part of the process of developing Series 2, they also added some fun new extras that went along with the films that had already been released as Series 1. That Kickstarter campaign also included reprints of all of that original stuff so that those who didn't get it the first time could still get their hands on it. As such, the Series 2 Kickstarter included a lot of stuff for both Series 1 and Series 2. In response to demand from fans, one of the things that they provided for, as some Kickstarters do but many do not, is two-wave shipping. If you wanted to get your stuff for Series 1 early, you could get split shipping so that you have one wave that comes first with Series 1 stuff and then everything else in Series 2. Or you could simply get everything at once when Wave 2 would ship. Most of the brand new stuff that is specifically for Series 1, not something that can be used for 1 and 2, came in Wave 1, including reprints and some new stuff. This video is about the new stuff. If you want to get a detailed item-by-item, component-by-component content overview for Final Girl Series 1, for all the stuff that did exist from the original Kickstarter and retail releases, check out the other video on this channel. I will link to it in the description below. We are only, in this video, going to focus on the new stuff that was provided as part of Wave 1 of the second Kickstarter, specific to Series 1, because that's the only stuff that's been released so far. Eventually, we will do a video as well on anything coming in Wave 2, but that's still a matter of months away. So before we dive into looking at what came with Wave 1 from the second Kickstarter for Series 1, we should note there are some things from the second Kickstarter that do impact Series 1 that were not included in Wave 1 because they are still in production at this point. Most of them are things that actually can be used for either series, either season, so to speak, of these films, but there are a small number that are specific to Series 1. Specific to Series 1, there are going to be miniatures to go with the Terror from Above vignette. Those are still in production. Those were a stretch goal during the second Kickstarter campaign. Secondly, there is a new pack of miniatures for vehicles from Series 1. Those are still in production. Those will come in Wave 2. The other stuff is basically things that could be used for either season, including a new horror track miniature, deluxe final health tokens, deluxe bloodlust token, deluxe time tracking token, desperation die, and booklet of desperate deaths to go with it, ultimate dice that can replace ultimate abilities, signature action cards, 3 new promo Final Girls. They're just cards, no miniatures. One of them is new, 2 of them are using characters from the game The Dark Quarter that is made by Ryder Games and Lucky Duck. And then a couple of digital items. On their website, they will have a Create Your Own Item feature to go along with the Create Your Own Final Girl feature that already exists. And there will be a digital soundtrack with some subscription freebie time from Fabler. Basically, everything else that could impact Series 1 did come with the reprinted material and some new stuff here in Wave 1. Let's note pledge types very quickly. Pledges that could have included Season 1 or Series 1 content were the $20 a la carte pledge, where you just picked up one feature film, but no core box, and that could have been a feature film from Series 1 if you wanted to. The film debut pledge for $20, which is for new players, that included one feature film and one core box. Series 1 franchise, which is everything for Series 1 except the Paula promo card, the physical Season 1 Gruesome Death books that we're going to look at, and the Kickstarter exclusive Series 1 mystery box. And please pardon me as I jump between Season 1 and Series 1 at different points. They referred to it as Season 1 for a while, the name started to stick in my head, and then they changed it to Series 1. There were also 3 possible pledges that intentionally included items from both series, both the new stuff and the reprinted stuff. There was a gameplay all-in for $209 that included the core box, all Series 1 and 2 films, Terror from Above, and the Season 1 or Series 1 lore and scenario book. There was a full franchise pledge for $299 that included everything except the Series 1 and Series 2 mystery boxes, the Paula promo card, and the Series 1 Gruesome Death books. And there was an epic all-in pledge that included literally everything for $329. Just to go ahead and get it out of the way, because we looked at this in depth in the previous content overview video from the first Kickstarter, yes, you could get the Series 1 mystery box again during the Kickstarter, but it is a Kickstarter exclusive, so it was not available through Van Ryder Games' website. You had to go through the Kickstarter to get it. There will be a Series 3 Kickstarter when you can get it then as well. If you got it during the Kickstarter, not part of the Epic All-In, then you would have paid just $10 for the mystery box. Again, what's inside it is revealed in the previous video. Now, with that intro out of the way, we can finally dive into the good stuff. Let's take a look at the Wave 1 Series 1 material. Now, you may recall that in the original Kickstarter, you had a nice set of playmats that were available. In this campaign, you could pick up the playmats for Series 1 for $25, or after the fact for $29.99 on the Van Ryder Games website. There's a couple things to note here about the playmats, though. They're not exactly the same thing. Notice here that on these dice, we're seeing stars on the dice. That means those are Final Girl dice being used. This over here, running off the edge of the screen here, that's the playmat originally provided during the first Kickstarter and subsequent retail releases. Notice that it's badges instead of stars. They accidentally used the art here from their other game that started using this engine in the first place, Hostage Negotiator. So yes, if you pick up game mats from the second Kickstarter or later, you will have the corrected image on your mats for Series 1. Now, fortunately, it is really easy to tell which of these you're going to get if you happen to find them out in the wild to purchase them. This is the original set from the first Kickstarter and retail afterwards. Okay, it's banging around because there's the other mat inside it here, but that's the original with the art of the villains. The new box is meant to actually fit in seamlessly with the theme of what we see in the storage box, as we'll see in just a moment. It says Series 1 Game Mat Set. On the back, it notes that there are two 28 by 12 inch deluxe neoprene mats inside. And then while one side is bloody, the other one, as we will see in just a moment, has a VCR look. More about that in just a second. Suffice to say, though, if you get this one, you've got the updated mats that have the correct dice images on them. And I guess I should say, for the sake of full disclosure, that I am a backer of the original Kickstarter All-In and a backer of all the new stuff in the new Kickstarter. However, I was very helpful, I guess, to people in the comments while the Kickstarter was running, so Van Ryder Games provided me with a little bit of credit in the Pledge Manager, which I used to replace my old mats with the new mats and pay part of the shipping. So, in this case, the game mat set that you're seeing here that has the updated images on it, those are the ones that I got thanks to helping out in their generosity. Now that that's out of the way, we can focus in on the big box, the storage box. And this is what it looks like when it would be sitting on, say, a store shelf. This sheet, though, gets removed, and it actually has some cool stuff on the back of it that we're going to look at here. So if you see this on the shelf, it notes Final Girl Series 1, one player, 20 to 60 minutes, ages 14 plus, a solo game of survival horror by AJ Porfirio and Evan Derrick, with art from Tyler Johnson, Ronald McDonald, Vladislava Ladkova, and Tumo Mayer, if I'm saying all those names correctly, Van Ryder Games, and does note some serious accolades here. Golden Geek from 2021, Kickstarter's most funded solo game of all time, which it actually broke the record on twice, as we'll get to here in just a moment. The Golden Meeple from Board Game Revolution, Quackalope's 5 out of 5, the Dice Tower Seal of Excellence, and Man vs. Meeple Top 10 Solo Games. On the back of this is this really nice breakdown of how to organize this storage box. That guide there is actually one part of a stretch goal related to the storage box. That index sheet was part of a stretch goal at the $1.6 million stretch goal mark in the Kickstarter campaign. They do a pretty good job of explaining here. I'm not going to go through every little bit of it, but it does say at the top here, thank you for purchasing the Final Girl Series 1 storage box. Most of the individual boxes located within the storage box, specifically the core and feature film boxes, come pre-organized. Their individual components will already be sorted and stored inside their respective boxes, making it easy to get started. However, almost all the Series 1 bonus content and component upgrades are packaged separately and do not come pre-sorted. This sheet offers detailed instructions on where to store that additional content. It breaks it down here into two possible versions of this box. You have the majority of people just buying the box with all the stuff in it. You also have returning Kickstarter backers who already own most of Series 1, who only get sort of a smaller version of this when picking up the storage box, so it has sections for each of those. It also has a notation there to let you know what stuff, as you're looking at what goes where, is from items that are sold separately rather than stuff that is inside the box itself. It is a really well-designed guide of what to store where and basically what you should be looking for coming with the box depending on when you got it. Basically, someone who purchased the Series 1 franchise pledge for $159 got the storage box with the core box, all 5 Series 1 feature films, and the game mats all actually in the box. They also received the Terra from Above vignette, Series 1 miniature pack, Series 1 vehicle pack, and Series 1 lore and scenario books, all of which were packaged separately. And all of which, except for that Series 1 vehicle pack, actually came in Wave 1. Just the box with those items included, with none of the extra items that aren't in the box that I just mentioned, was later made available on the Van Ryder Games website for $179.99. On the other hand, if you already owned all the stuff and you just wanted the storage box the way that people might have gotten it through the Kickstarter, those people here, you could pick up the storage box, and we'll point out what actually came with it here in a little bit, for $29.99 off of the Van Ryder Games website. Or that extra storage box could be picked up through the Kickstarter for $25. We're going to see that for the most part, except for the actual game content, there was a slight markup to any of the items after the Kickstarter when they showed up on the Van Ryder Games website. This is what it looks like when you remove that little slip off the top, the index item. This is not actually the original art that was intended for it. The original placeholder art was basically just Hans standing there with kind of a dark background. We'll see that when we look at one of the sides of the box here. But they did wind up basically going through and giving both storage boxes for Series 1 and Series 2 their own unique brand new artwork. That was at the $500,000 stretch goal. So here we have all the final girls from the Series 1 feature films and vignette, but not Paula. That was a promo card that came slightly later. All 5 of the killers for Series 1, but no birds unless you count them in the background. I'm assuming that's meant to be a reference to them, not just part of the artwork here that just happens to be part of the forest there. Then one side gives us Hans the Butcher. The other side gives us Lori. Both of them are from the Happy Trails Horror, which is sort of the most basic of the feature film boxes. The top side has that information that otherwise was on that piece of paper, right? The title, a solo game by, without the art credits, Van Ryder Games, and the game information off to the side. Then the bottom indicates Final Girl Series 1 and has a list of all the different killers, and then Terra from Above, the actual vignette title without just saying birds, and then the names of the 5 locations from Series 1. The back says Final Girls Series 1. Horror awaits. This massive box includes the core box and the Series 1 collection of feature film boxes for the critically acclaimed solo game Final Girl. Mix and match killers and locations, and with various event, item, and terror cards, no 2 games will ever be the same. Choose your favorite Final Girl and instantly become the star of your own horror movie. Then all the stuff from the front. I think, forget to mention the Meeble Mountain Best Solo Game of 2021 when we looked at the other side, but that's on there as well. It says, optional Series 1 items available separately. The following items will fit inside your storage box, but are not included. They may be purchased separately from your retailer or through our website at vanrydergames.com. The vignette film Terror from Above, Series 1 Miniatures Pack, Series 1 Vehicle Pack, which is not out yet, Terror from Above Birds Miniatures Pack, which is not out yet, and Series 1 Gruesome Death Books. This was something that was originally available only as a digital stretch goal from the first campaign, that, as we will see, got printed versions available during the second campaign. Included in this box includes many products in the Final Girl line, each of which comes with its own set of components. Only the products themselves are listed below. Their specific individual components are not listed. We have Final Girl core box, and then feature films for Happy Trails Horror, The Haunting of Creech Manor, Slaughter in the Groves, Carnage at the Carnival, Frightmare on Maple Lane, the Series 1 cast and crew box, not pictured, Series 1 bonus feature box, also not pictured, and Series 1 game mat set. Then it notes optional miniatures, does not include miniatures. Ask your retailer for the Series 1 miniature pack add-on, or visit us at vanrydergames.com to learn more. Important note here, note, contents listed above may vary or not be included if this box was received as part of our Kickstarter campaign fulfillment, right? Because some people may have already owned that stuff and be getting that quasi-empty box. Again, which is on the website for $30 basically. And then you get your credits and Van Ryder Games, all that kind of stuff at the bottom. So let's open this up. And I would note when opening this up that some people have trouble pulling it open. I find it's easier to open if you pull it from these sides, from the edges at the bottom, not those sides. It is a pretty tight fit. Now the interior of the lid is just blank cardboard. The interior of this box, we will see, provides a guide of where to put stuff. So you notice here the way that it's laid out. We've got the box up here. This is the game mat box. If you bought this as the franchise box, the game mats are in there. If you did not, and you got it in case you already own stuff, it did come with an empty box here to actually put your game mats in if you own the original version with the killers on the box. I thought that was a nice touch here. And it says Series 1, has that 12 o'clock thing, /vision. This artwork of a VCR, basically, was actually a stretch goal. See, the original Kickstarter for Final Girl broke the record for the most funded solo-only game on Kickstarter. I believe the previous holder was Unbroken. But then a game from Chip Theory, Hoplomachus Victorum, I believe is how you pronounce it, broke that record. But then the Series 2 Kickstarter for Final Girl broke that record again, and when it hit the point of breaking that record again, at the $944,328 stretch goal mark, that is when they included a stretch goal to turn the box art into a VCR to look cool in the box. So again, the game mat set here, we've already looked at. That's the top area of the box. Then the first thing on the left is the core box, which we have seen in detail in the previous video. Again, we are not going to go back through a component breakdown of every single component in stuff we already saw in the previous video. This is one of those. This, by the way, was available a la carte for 20 bucks. It is $19.99 on the Van Ryder website, so essentially the same price. Then we have the Happy Trails Horror with Camp Happy Trails and Hans. Again, not much new to look at with this. We're going to see some stuff that eventually will go in here in a little bit. But each feature film box could be picked up for 20 bucks. It's also on the Van Ryder website for $19.99. So just like the core box pricing-wise, and no markup really. In fact, a penny difference going lower if you buy it through the website relative to the Kickstarter. Then we have the Haunting of Creech Manor with the Poltergeist and Creech Manor. Then Slaughter in the Groves with Inkanyamba and the Sacred Groves. Then Carnage at the Carnival with Geppetto and the Carnival of Blood. Then Frightmare on Maple Lane with Dr. Fright and Maple Lane. And then we have two new boxes. Okay, these are brand new, added to the storage box as a way to carry various stuff as it relates to this series. We'll look at those other two boxes in a moment. First, let's look inside the box. This is the other part of that $1.6 million stretch goal, to actually have where stuff goes printed on the inside of the box. So you have one thing telling you what to put inside each box, and then this to tell you where to put the boxes inside the bigger storage box. And yes, the bigger storage box, just in case you're wondering, when you take the lid off, it is just plain all around the edges. The first of the new boxes, which is only available inside the storage box for that particular series, is the Cast and Crew box. It looks a lot like the core box, really, just a different color here. Final Girl Cast and Crew, Van Ryder Games, Series 1. Same kind of thing there. It does only open from the one side. It's got a nice guide over here to what goes where, but essentially, you have a little well here where you're going to eventually put your bird miniatures that were a stretch goal that go with Terror from Above, but those are coming in Wave 2. I went ahead and just have all of my bird tokens in a little baggie that I'm sticking in there for right now. There's a space here for the Terror from Above vignette right here, which just goes in that slot, or you could sleeve the cards and stick them in there. More about sleeving here in just a moment. This was from Series 1. If you want to see that, again, look at the previous video. Then you can take all your miniatures, and instead of putting the miniatures for the Final Girls into the core box as they originally suggested, or keep them inside the boxes with the feature films that tie into those if you wanted to, they now have this little tray here, and it's a nice little tray in terms of sort of locking closed the way that it's designed. You do have to kind of pop it open rather than it just falling open. But a tray here where you can put every single one of the Final Girl minis from Series 1, and this little guide tells you which ones go in which slots. So a nice little tray here for the Final Girls themselves, and then to go along with storing the Final Girls in this box, because you could use them wherever, You also have a well here on the right for the Final Girl cards. It does include space for Paula as well, that promo card. And you have a space for all of those secret envelopes that come with at least the 2 Final Girls in each feature film box, so 10 of these. Paula doesn't get one, and neither does the Final Girl from Terror from Above, but there's space there for these either sleeved, or if you keep them in your envelopes, to just fit them right there in the envelopes themselves. So the cast crew box is just kind of a nice place to store a bunch of the other stuff that you'll be using as you play Series 1, and by keeping all the Final Girls in here, you can more easily mix and match them with the boxes they come from, even though, again, the previous scheme was basically, for the most part, just to keep the Final Girl cards and minis in the core box. So either way, you're not necessarily going to a particular feature film box to find the Final Girls, but this is a nice way to store them all together. There'll be an equivalent of this for Series 2 in its storage box as well. I should note here, by the way, that in the second Kickstarter, if you wanted to get Terror from Above as an add-on, it was $10. It is essentially $9.99 on the Ryder Games website. Also, if you wanted to get the miniature pack, which was the Killers and Final Girls, so all of them plus the Killers that go with each individual box, and the little small ones like Carolyn, for instance, with Creech Manor, that box was $20 through the Kickstarter, or you could get it for $24.99 through the Ryder Games website. The one promo card that I mentioned a moment ago for Paula Deming from Watch It Played that was used as a sort of a fundraiser for them was available for $5 through the second Kickstarter, or $5 through the website. The second brand new box inside the storage box was the bonus features for Series 1. So this Final Girl bonus features, Ryder Games. Final Girl artwork there, Series 1. Does say bonus features up there, nothing on the back. Horizontal version right here. Again, it's another one of those magnetic boxes, just a little bit thinner. And inside, here's what it's meant to hold, and we will note along the way what exactly it is that it came with. So it's meant to hold the lore and scenario book for Series 1. Okay, the lore and scenario book was a $5 add-on. If you didn't get it as a free stretch goal back in the first campaign, you get it for $5 in the second campaign, or $7.99 on the Ryder Games website. This is the lore and scenario only for Series 1. There will be a free one for Series 2 as a stretch goal that we'll see in Wave 2. That's meant to fit in there, as noted here. Then you have 5 different books that can be purchased separately. These are the Gruesome Death books. In the original Kickstarter campaign, there was a stretch goal for a digital set of Gruesome Death books. And what these are little narrative bits to go with deaths in the game. So you would find your killer, or even the birds from the vignette, and your location. In this case, Sacred Groves, so here's the location, here's the killer, birds, or the killer is Geppetto, or whatever. And then you would look to see what killed the character. Was it a Geppetto Terror card? If so, which one was it? And if it's There Is No Escape, for instance, you read this narrative when someone gets killed. And there's one of these for all 5 locations. So we have Sacred Groves, Camp Happy Trails, Carnival of Blood, Creech Manor, and Maple Lane. 5 of these. It was a digital stretch goal. They decided that people kept wanting physical versions of these because they were only digital in the original. Just because of how long it was going to take to make them, they couldn't fulfill it with everything else, so they just did digital only. That now, since they've been out for a while, let's have a physical version as a $25 add-on, or basically $24.99 through the Ryder Games website, I believe. But not included in the actual bonus features box, but it's one of the things to store in there, like the lore and scenario book. What is included is 2 things. This is the first, which is the Final Girl feature film rulebook for Series 1. This was a $650,000 stretch goal. It's basically to take a rulebook that they had made for their website that combines all the little rule sheets from the individual feature films that I just store in there to get them out of the way so they're not loose, into one book. This is a print version of that, put into the bonus features box, and it includes not just the rules, but also achievements to go along with them. Really kind of a cool little addition. This comes within the bonus features box. The other thing the bonus features box comes with that is not actually stored within it, instead they're stored within the individual feature film boxes, is a set of 5 cards. You might recall that in the original Kickstarter, one of the stretch goals was to add an epic dark power to each killer. Each killer has finales represented by cards that show the top of their bodies when they're face down, and dark powers that represent the bottoms of their bodies when shown face down. Dark powers are pretty nasty abilities. There were going to be 3 regular dark powers for each killer. Each one then, through a stretch goal, got an epic dark power that was even nastier. But as far as finales went, the things that were flipped at the end of the game, well, you only had 3. There was no epic finale. Until now. In the second Kickstarter, the $575,000 stretch goal was to create a set of epic finales for Series 1. So 1 more finale card, an epic one this time, for each of the 5 killers in the feature film boxes. Not the birds, however. So we have the epic finale Puppet Bombs for Geppetto, Dream Warfare for Dr. Fright. You might be a dream warrior, perhaps. Don't wanna dream, no. Anyway, Demonic Possession for the Poltergeist, Death Blow for Hans. And then finally, Drag Her to Hell for Inkanyamba. All right, so each of them now has a new finale card that is an epic, super difficult finale to play against. That is an optional thing to play with in your game. You essentially randomize these. You can choose to randomize these with the other 3 regular ones or not. Same thing with Epic Dark Power versus Dark Powers when setting up your game for more variability and challenge. These, though, come inside the bonus features box when you pick up the storage box. However, again, you would store them just with the killers in the feature film boxes instead of in here. Now, if you didn't pick up the storage box, but you still wanted that feature film rulebook or those epic finale cards, you could get the bonus feature box through the Van Ryder Games website for $9.99. Now, before I put the bonus features box away, I should note here, by the way, the lore and scenario book that is supposed to fit inside, when there was a second printing of this for this second Kickstarter, some of these got printed that were a little taller than the original version of them. It was sort of a production error. So if you happen to have one that's a little bit taller that won't fit in the box, they suggest you put it in the game mat box. I actually do put mine, even though it's the right size, into the game mat box, because when put in here, it makes it a little bit tough for that magnetic clasp to stay closed when it's stacked with all the other books in there. Now, there are 2 other things for us to look at here, but they only apply to those who already picked up Final Girl Series 1 stuff from the previous Kickstarter or at retail prior to distribution from Wave 1 of the second Kickstarter, because they are replacement items for stuff that already exists on the market. It was stuff you might just call quality of life improvements. This box is a set of replacement trays. You see, in the original Kickstarter and the original retail run of Final Girl, the trays for the individual sets of components for the killer side and the location side of the individual feature film boxes didn't fit sleeved cards very well, and they tapered off at the bottom of the wells, so it ran the risk of possibly, over time, causing cards to bend a little bit. So they went to the trouble, based on fan feedback for the second Kickstarter, to go through for that new production run and change the trays for all the different feature films to make them work better with sleeved cards and fit regular cards just better. Lots of people wanted these replacement trays without having to repurchase the feature films, so they made a box of those available for $10, both through the Kickstarter and through their website. What's interesting is they also retooled the trays, because originally the trays for both the killer and location sides were identical, but your locations tended to have a lot of small cards, but not as many large cards, and it was the opposite for the killer side. So they actually created a new tray design, similar to the original, but a little bit different in how it handles cards, for the location side and for the killer side, so they were no longer equivalent, and you got 5 of those, 1 for each feature film box from Series 1, in a pack of total of 10, if you were to pick them up as that replacement pack. We do want to take a look at those real quick, because there are some people who are particularly frustrated by the sleeving issues with the original print run. Alright, so here are the 3 different trays. The ones that have stuff in them right now, those are the ones from the second Kickstarter, the replacement trays that I got, so that I could then sleeve the cards, which I have not done yet. They do say that the best thing to try to do is use 60 micron sleeves. I have some of those coming from Sleeve Kings for both mini, Euro, and standard card game, so hopefully those will work well. This is the original tray. You can tell it's the original tray in part by the fact that even if you don't know about the different depths, notice that the well covers are all kind of indented here. Like if there was a flat surface, each one is dipping down for each of the spots. They don't stick particularly well. I mean, they open. They do have a little bit of an indentation to help them stick. And then here's inside. For comparison, we'll see this here. The depth of the wells and the tapering that you see here. That's the original trays. This here is an example of one of the new location trays. So you pop the lid off. Notice there's no indentation. It is smooth, so it's really easy to tell which of these you have. You still have your 2 wells here for like tokens for the location and whatnot. You got your big cards, lots of small cards. And notice here that the big card part of the well is much smaller and the little part is much deeper when compared to the original. Okay, they basically raised up the lip here so that it better fits smaller cards here and larger cards when there are a few on top. It also does not taper nearly as much as it goes to the very bottom here. Then this will be one of our killer trays. Pop it right off here. Again, flat spots for individual minis, like for the killers, in this case, the Killer and Carolyn, because we're looking at Creech Manor. But remember, these primarily are large cards. So in here, you have a much larger well for large cards and a much smaller well underneath for the little cards. So compared to the original there, a little hard to see, but significant improvement in terms of managing the specific types of cards that go with each side of a feature film box. Notice here size-wise, I'm going to put those items in there. Now I'm going to put the large cards in there. Notice a little bit of extra space. Should be pretty good at accommodating sleeved cards. But again, they say 60 micron just because later in Series 2 there are going to be some feature films with a lot more cards to them, and the height may become an issue if you don't use something as thin as 60 microns. The other thing provided for returning backers is a set of corrected cards, fixing typos, fixing icon issues, errata, and whatnot for Series 1. We're going to take a look here at the individual original cards and the ones that replace them. The little card that goes with it here says First Printing Correction Pack. We corrected a number of cards in the first printing and have included replacements in this pack. The corrections were nearly all minor typos that did not affect gameplay. You can find the list of cards that were corrected and which feature films they belong to on the back of this card. To verify you have a first printing, check the bottom of your feature film box. If it lists a numbered print run, second printing or higher, then you may recycle this pack as your copy of the game already has the corrected cards. If no print run is listed, however, you have a first printing and should replace the cards listed opposite with their corrected versions. UPC, Van Ryder Games, and there's your list of corrected cards. There are corrected cards from all 5 feature films and the vignette. None were untouched. For the Haunting of Creech Manor, we have 1 replacement card for the Creech Manor side and 3 for the Poltergeist side. For the location side, originally we had It's Coming, which targeted a victim, but the corrected version has it targeting the final girl instead. That's a pretty big difference. As for the other cards, whether we're talking about Carolyn, Where Are You? Or Carolyn, or the other version of Carolyn, Where Are You? The issue was that they misspelled Carolyn on the cards themselves. That has now been fixed on the fixed versions of the cards. For Slaughter at the Groves, it was just 1 card from the Sacred Groves location side, which is the tour guide. Anytime you replace a victim meeple with something that makes them special or have unique abilities, like on an event card, you're supposed to swap it out for a colored special victim meeple, not the original yellow. And they unfortunately put yellow on the original printing and fixed it to orange for the reprint and the correction pack. For Frightmare on Maple Lane, there were 2 cards replaced, both of which came from the Dr. Fright side. You have Marked for Death and Blurred Reality, both of which say Until the Next Terror Phase as the first part of the first sentence on there. The corrected ones say Until the Next Killer Phase. From Carnage at the Carnival, there are 3 replaced cards, all from the Carnival of Blood side. This one's kind of minor. We have Run, I'll Hold Them Off. It's your fiancé is who that blue one becomes. No, it's not a color issue. They spelled fiancé without the little accent mark on the E, so they went ahead and replaced the card. Then we have Is This a Prop? And How Can There Be So Many Traps, which have the same issue. The original version of both have a victim as the target. whereas the correct version has a victim or the final girl, which indicates whichever is closest. Again, same kind of thing there. For the Happy Trails Horror, it's only small cards, all from the location side, Camp Happy Trails. We have a similar issue here to what we saw before. Vengeance is supposed to be turning a victim into the damned, and it just used a regular victim instead of a special victim, so now instead of yellow, it's the correct orange there. And then both Bear Trap and Fireworks, in their original incarnations, neglected to mention that once you spend time to place them in a location, you had to discard the card. You couldn't keep reusing Fireworks or reusing Bear Trap. As soon as you use it, they're gone, which makes sense. You're laying down the Bear Trap, and the Fireworks are, going off. Then finally, the last corrected card was from Terror from Above. The original version of the Bloodlust card said, discard 1 Terror card, or if during finale, take 1 damage. And it's take 1, and then the slash thing, which by itself would mean take a damage. It just was not necessarily a well-designed setup to that card. It also had a start at the bottom. For whatever reason, it was just a little bit confusing, apparently, to people, I suppose. Maybe, start. What does start mean? Oh, well, it starts there. Duh. In any event, same kind of thing on both sides. This side said if finale is revealed, lose 1 health, otherwise discard 1 Terror card. So they both essentially had you do the same thing. The text was different. It got a little confusing. The final version of it removes the start part down at the bottom, sort of redoes the font there for Dark Power so it matches, the Dark Power elsewhere, but just goes for clarity, making them match. If finale is revealed, 1 health lost, just without saying lose 1, because that is what that symbol means. Otherwise, discard 1 Terror card. Much clearer now than it was originally. So there you have it, folks. Everything new from Wave 1 of the second Kickstarter for Final Girl, all applicable to Series 1. I just wanted you to get a chance to see how this franchise is building as we move on to eventually look at Wave 2, which will have a ton of stuff for Series 2 and a handful of items both for Series 1 and that can be used across series. I will continue with this content breakdown for Final Girl as long as I am able. I love this game. It is one of my favorite games, possibly my favorite game of all time at this point, so definitely one to pick up if you're into solo games and you're not afraid of a little dice chucking along the way. Thanks, and have a good fright, not night, right? Okay, I'll stop.